J.D. Vance implies Eileen Gu should have represented Team USA in Winter Olympics. J.D. Vance has weighed in on Olympian Eileen Gu's decision to represent China in the 2026 Winter Olympics. The 22-year-old freestyle skier is having a successful time in Italy this year, having already earned 2 silver medals after clinching 2 gold and 1 silver medal during the 2022 Beijing Olympics. However, the San Francisco native has been criticized by some detractors for representing China in the Games. Her list of critics now includes the 41-year-old vice president, who shared his perspective during a Tuesday, February 17, appearance on Fox News The Story with Martha McCallum. Vance was asked for his thoughts on Gu's decision to represent China despite being raised in the United States, with Martha McCallum noting that some have labeled her a traitor and deemed her decision treasonous. "I have no idea what her status should be. I think that's ultimately up to the Olympics Committee," Vance said. "I won't pretend to wade into that." However, as he continued, he implied that Gu should have been a member of Team USA. "I certainly think that somebody who grew up in the United States of America, who benefited from our education system, from the freedoms and liberties that make this country a great place, I would hope that they want to compete with the United States of America," he said. "So, I'm going to root for American athletes, and I think part of that is people who identify themselves as Americans. That's who I'm rooting for this Olympics." This isn't the first time that Vance has made headlines amid the 2026 Games. The politician and his wife, Usha Vance, were audibly booed while attending the opening ceremony at San Siro Stadium on February 6. President Donald Trump's VP also addressed athletes who have taken a stance against Trump, 79, and the current state of political affairs in the U.S. In a clip shared to X by CNN reporter Kit Mayer, Vance acknowledged that there will be some Olympic athletes who pop off about politics. "My advice to them would be to try to bring the country together, and when you're representing the country, you're representing Democrats and Republicans," he said. "You're there to play a sport, and you're there to represent your country and hopefully win a medal. You're not there to pop off about politics." The Republican politician added that any athlete who does decide to speak politically should expect some pushback. He said that most Olympic athletes, whatever their politics, are doing a great job, adding, "Certainly enjoy the support of the entire country, and I think recognize that the way to bring the country together is not to show up in a foreign country and attack the President of the United States, but it's to play your sport and to represent the country well." Trump has warred with athletes like Team USA skier Hunter Hess, whom he branded a real loser after the 27-year-old said he had mixed emotions about competing for the country at the moment. Gu has also addressed the criticism she's received for competing for China, the country where her mother was born. The 5-time Olympic medalist told The Athletic that she's been physically assaulted on the streets while attending Stanford University and has had death threats. All 5 of her medals were earned while competing for China, a decision that she has described as difficult to make. In explaining her decision to The Athletic, she said, "In the US growing up, I had so many idols to look up to. But in China, I feel like there are a lot fewer of those. I'd have a much greater impact in China than in the US, and that's ultimately why I made my decision," she said. Gu announced her decision to compete for the Chinese team on Instagram in June 2019, saying that it was an incredibly tough decision. "I am proud of my heritage, and equally proud of my American upbringings. The opportunity to help inspire millions of young people where my mom was born, during the 2022 Beijing Olympic Winter Games is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to help to promote the sport I love," she said at the time. She continued, "Through skiing, I hope to unite people, promote common understanding, create communication, and forge friendships between nations. If I can help to inspire one young girl to break a boundary, my wishes will have come true." The flag we choose, Eileen Gu, J.D. Vance, and the politics of Olympic identity. In the glittering spectacle of the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan Cortina, few stories captivated global attention as profoundly as that of Eileen Gu, a 22-year-old freestyle skiing phenom who emerged as the most decorated Olympic freeskier of all time. With 3 medals at these Games and a history of excellence dating back to Beijing 2022, Gu's athletic feats were extraordinary. Yet, it wasn't just her mastery on snow that spurred global conversation, it was the flag she chose to ski under, China's. That decision has sparked intense debate, punctuated by comments from high-profile figures, including U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. Vance's remarks, implying Gu should have represented Team USA, revealed deeper fault lines in how nations, identity, and sport intersect in a polarized world. Eileen Gu, A Tale of Two Nations. Born in San Francisco to an American father and a Chinese mother, Eileen Gu embodies multicultural identity at the highest level. She grew up in the United States, trained in California and Lake Tahoe, and attended Stanford University, experiences rooted in American soil and culture. But in 2019, at age 15, she made a watershed decision to switch her sporting nationality from the US to China. That move, ambitious yet controversial, was motivated by more than athletic calculation. Gu framed her choice as a mission to inspire millions and to elevate freestyle skiing in China, where winter sports have surged in popularity since Beijing 2022. For her, the decision was about impact, representation, and bridging cultures through sport. Her dual identity, fluent in Mandarin, deeply connected to both cultural worlds, positioned her as a global icon. She was not merely competing for medals, she was competing between nations, embodying both the aspirations and tensions of a 21st-century global citizen. 2. J.D. Vance's critique, patriotism or political statement. Into this narrative stepped J.D. Vance, a U.S. politician serving as vice president since 2025. Speaking on Fox News during the Olympics, Vance addressed Gu's nationality, not her performance. He said he certainly thinks that somebody who grew up in the United States of America would want to compete with the United States of America. As a result, he stated he would root for American athletes who identify themselves as Americans. At its surface, Vance's comment appears patriotic, a call to support athletes under the stars and stripes. But beneath lies a broader debate about what it means to belong, represent, and identify in an era of global mobility. Vance's remarks implicitly question Gu's loyalty and suggest that national identity has clear, exclusive boundaries. But is that a fair way to measure an individual's choices, especially in a world where identity is complex and multifaceted? 3. The clash of nationalism and individual agency. Vance's implication, that Gu should have competed for the US, resonates with many Americans who feel a sense of loss when elite athletes don another nation's colors. But this viewpoint intersects uneasily with the reality of global citizenship. Gu's story isn't uncommon in sports. Athletes often change national affiliations for personal, professional, or familial reasons. Olympic rules allow competitors with multiple nationalities to represent the nation they choose, provided they meet eligibility requirements. The International Olympic Committee recognizes this flexibility, acknowledging that nationality can be more than a simple legal status. But when politics enter the playing field, as they did with Vance's comments, the conversation becomes less about sport and more about symbolism. For Vance, Gu's choice triggered discussions about national pride and American exceptionalism. For others, it raised questions about personal freedom and the right to self-definition. 4. Eileen Gu's response, grace under fire. Rather than engage in a heated political battle, Gu responded with poise. When asked about Vance's remarks, she said, "I'm flattered. Thanks, J.D. That's sweet." Her reply was respectful, deflecting the tension with grace and humor, yet underscoring that her decision was not about politics. Later, she noted feeling like a bit of a punching bag for a certain strand of American politics, asserting that many people only criticize her because of broader attitudes toward China rather than her actual decision. This subtle shift reframed the conversation. It wasn't just about nationality, it was about perception, bias, and the narratives constructed around dual heritage individuals. Gu's lived experience, navigating scrutiny, online backlash, and geopolitical pressure while performing at the highest levels, illustrates the emotional weight athletes carry beyond the medal podium. The Olympic stage, more than sport. The Olympics have always been a global stage not only for athletic excellence but also for political and cultural expression. National flags, anthems, and uniforms carry immense symbolic weight. But what happens when the athlete at the center of the arena doesn't fit neatly into a single narrative? Eileen Gu's presence at these games challenged traditional assumptions. What defines national identity? Is birthplace sufficient, or does personal choice matter? Can someone represent the world, or more than one nation, without being disloyal? These questions reverberate beyond skiing competitions. They touch on migration, belonging, globalization, and the limits of national loyalty. For Vance and others who share his perspective, Gu's choice feels like a missed American moment. But for Gu, the Olympics weren't about proving loyalty, they were about being true to herself, her heritage, and her goals. 6. Global identities in a changing world. The debate around Gu and Vance highlights a broader global reality. National identity is no longer fixed or singular. Millions of people around the world live transnational lives, crossing borders, absorbing multiple cultures, and forming multifaceted identities. In many ways, Gu's story is not an exception but a reflection of the 21st century human experience. The modern world, characterized by digital connection, migration, and cross-cultural exchange, challenges old assumptions. Young people increasingly see themselves as global citizens, comfortable navigating multiple identities simultaneously. Jiyu did not reject the United States. She embraced her ability to interpret both her American roots and her Chinese heritage through her athletic journey. 7. The meaning of representation. At the heart of Vance's critique is a compelling question: what does it mean to represent a nation? For some, representation is about symbolic loyalty, flying the flag, chanting the anthem, and showcasing national pride. For others, representation is about personal choice and where one feels they can make the biggest difference. Gu's choice to compete for China wasn't born of animosity toward the US. Instead, she saw an opportunity to grow her sport and inspire youth in a part of the world where winter